Love is, once again, just a word. The only way it's quantifiable is if you use romanticism as the gauge to quantify it. The action of love exists on a sliding scale because, like I said in the previous video, the only true love that exists is the love that a parent has for their child. And why that exists is because if we want love to be what it actually is, it has to be interwoven into the experience itself. It can't be just made up out of the mind by romanticizing particular relationships, whether you love a cheeseburger, you love your dog, you love a toy. The word becomes a thing. So there's no real way to put your finger on what that is. It's no different than trying to quantify enlightenment, an awakening. Love is in that same category. It's easy to become a thing. This is why I say those criminals get involved with these situations. They utilize these tools, turn them into things, repackage them, and sell them to people with strings attached. Individuals do this when they want to manipulate women. Some women do it to men. But as I was saying in the previous video, as a whole, the system does this to us. We have been sold a packaged, shrink-wrapped, mineral deficient definition of what love is. And in that processing of that which we call love, everything has been sucked out of it. All the nutrients, all the minerals, all the actions, all the real meaning is gone. So in order to define, or at least find out, what it is we're talking about on our end when we talk about love, outside of the manipulation, outside of the romanticizing of it, this is where I was saying, if you want this to be real, you have to see it from the perspective of being a part of the experience, as in attractiveness, pleasure is a part of the experience to instigate, to push, to maintain reproduction. This is why sex feels so good, is because the experience knows that the individuals will continue to reproduce to maintain the experience. But that's all it is. Taking it to tantra and maintaining relationships with sex and creating bonds and unions with divine twin flame connections, all that bullshit, all that's extra. That's all just flowery ass words on top of a word that's already a word. Love is already a word. Now you want to put twin flames on top of it. Divine partners and synchronous this and synchronous that. Enlightenment, all this, it's just shit. People need stories. But from my own experience, my own observation, what I've seen is that love isn't nothing. It's something just as much as the individual is something. This experience is something. Evolving your intelligent awareness in this experience is something. But all of that exists on a sliding scale. It's all representative of the individual and their own experience. One person can only love their child as much as they know how to love. So it can only go so far. It's not saying it can't grow, but that version of love is no different than somebody else's version of love based upon their level of experience. Where I'm saying the definition comes in is that being that love is interwoven in this experience, what is its purpose at its core? Just as we analyze sex, at its core, sex is not for relationships. It's not for any of that nonsense. Sex is strictly for reproduction. So what is love for? In analyzing love, the only individual that truly needs love in this experience is a child. A child lacking love will have a stunted growth. They will be missing something because love has intelligence in it. Love pushes growth. It pushes evolution. There's a safety in love. There's a protection in love. There's a confirmation in love. There's an awareness in love. There's an intelligence in love. There's a communication in love. There's all these things in love. And still, again, what is it? It's a thing. All that communication, all that awareness, everything that I just listed will be based upon a sliding scale coming from the individual that is projecting that love. Does one person's projection of love make anybody else's less love? No. It's in the action. It's not in the word. It's in the action. It's in the intention. The word doesn't matter. The feelings don't matter. It's the action. The actions that produce something within the individual that you are projecting that love onto. The only way the feelings matter are the feelings of the child receiving that love, transmuting that energy, that information into a growth pattern. More comes from this experience when we weed out the bullshit, evaporate all of that excess liquid that's in that definition and get down to the concentrated version of what it is. Love and sex has been watered down so much, we don't even know what it is anymore. People call romanticism love, knowing that the word will never be the thing that we're talking about. But how close can we get? Since you can never put your finger on what it actually is, you can observe that experience, like I was telling somebody in the comment section, on a sliding scale. And on that scale, there are levels. First, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever it is. Say 1 to 10. The 99.9999 highest percentage of level 10 is what I was saying is the love that exists between a parent and a child because it has a purpose. Love existing in your 19-year-old relationship ultimately doesn't even have a purpose. Your brain isn't even fully developed yet. My definition of love when I was 18, 19, 20 is irrelevant. It's nonsensical. It's completely romanticized and dripping with all of the garbage that was conditioned upon me in my childhood, in my observation of relationships within family, friends, peers. That sliding scale is based upon, once again, I don't like using these words, the consciousness of the individual. You're only going to be able to take it so far. And even when you take it that far, it changes you. So when you get to that point, again, it's not what it is because you are not who you used to be. Now you have another layer to achieve in that idea of love. In this moment, your definition of love is it. When you evolve yourself, you change. So your definition is going to change. So in love, when we're clunking along and getting in these relationships, you might feel stagnant, hurt, broken, lacking of love, unable to provide love. But that whole relationship, from a zoomed out perspective, is just another way for you to move forward. Like I said, love is an intelligence. Children learn from love. Give a child all the love it requires, all the attention, all the awareness, compared to a child that gets none of that. That child who received all that love has a jump start on everybody around them. That doesn't mean the child without love isn't going to get there, because you could also learn from a lack of love, as a child would learn how not to be from parents, friends, family that are close to them. I don't want to be like that. I'm going to be something else. I'm going to be better. You can learn from that, and you can achieve a certain level of awareness, of self-love, the ability to love someone else. You can achieve all that from being in that environment. It'll just take a little longer to get there because you didn't have that assistance. You didn't have that training. You didn't have that guidance that is required, that is a part of a loving relationship. So yes, it will take a little longer. That doesn't mean the other one is not going to get there. It's just going to mean that that individual who received that love will be better equipped for where they are in that moment. So as in disc golf, you have to get worse in order to get better when you're working on something. Sometimes our experiences do the same thing to us, and it's not our choice necessarily. Sometimes the experience sets us up in a difficult situation so that later on down the line, we can be better. We won't see it that way if we're locked in to the perspective of what's going on from an idea of this happening to me. This is happening to us. We are dealing with this. From a zoomed out perspective, you can see, yes, this is happening to you now, but 2, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, whatever you're experiencing at that point, if you hadn't experienced and learned the way you learned getting up to that point, you wouldn't be able to experience what you're experiencing at that point at the level that's needed to take full advantage of that experience when it happens later on down the line. It's not better or worse, it's just different. And some of us have chosen that. As before we get to this experience, we have chosen the zoomed out perspective, the overall experience. Your parents didn't bring you here, you chose to come here. So the intelligence that has chosen to be born in this experience for certain things to happen at this part of the life, all the way down until you die, or whatever death is, from the apparent beginning to the apparent end. There's ups and downs, there's growth. Some people start off quick, some people start off slow. The experience itself is not supposed to make sense. Why would you read a book that you already read? You already know everything that's going to happen. So within this book, when you're reading the book, when you're writing the words on that page of that book, the test is to not be consumed by the words. Love is one of those words we get consumed by. It's thick, it's rich, it's made up of so much more than we even give credit to. But at the end of the day, it's just a word. It only exists in reality when we give it definition. And it only exists in that moment. As soon as that moment moves to another moment, it ceases to exist. It's now in a new realm because you have changed. The people around you have changed. This is why we can never put our finger on what's going on. Similar to that, you cannot put your finger on the moment. Tell me where the moment is. In the time that it takes for you to say the words to define what that moment is, it's too late. The same way someone tries to put the words together to define love, it's too late. Even those words used to define that word are words. So the sliding scale is the absence of love to the experiential intention of love. Why does this exist in the experience? Everything else we call love fits in between that. Absence, experience. The experience. So as I was saying in the previous video, the only love that can exist is that between a parent and a child. It's interwoven into the genetic structure of that relationship. Only relates to the potential of that love. The potential of that love on the extreme is greater because on a genetic level, that child is a representation, a reflection in some way of the parent. Before I move any further, like I said before, that parent also exists on a sliding scale. So if you want to compare a parent-child relationship biologically relating to an adopted child relationship, back to the original definition, the action and intention of love is what matters. So the purpose of love in raising a child, is it any less because the child is adopted? No. Because that love that the child receives will help that child evolve. It's for the child. The word love, the action of love is for the child. It's not for the parent providing that love. So the three parts of that experience that exists is, first of all, the love word is just a word. Secondly, the actions of that love are going to be on the sliding scale based upon the consciousness of that individual. That's 2. 3, the action and intention of that love as a receiver of that love is all that matters. Anything beyond that, any additions to that, is all romanticism. If it's anything other than that, it's going to be romanticism. Let's say somebody said that you love your biological child more than your adopted child. Even that is romanticizing. Why? Because that individual is defining their love based upon the feeling. You feel a certain connection more. I can see how that exists. But even in that experience, you're still talking about something that isn't actually the thing that you're talking about. It's a romanticizing. It's still based upon actions. And if love is to be real, it's not based upon your feelings. It's in the actions. So do some people feel like they love their biological kids more than their adopted kids? I'd imagine so. Is that feeling that they're talking about, is that love? No. Why? Because the feeling is centered on the individual who's observing the differences between the love they have for the biological child and the love they have for the adopted child. Is that feeling, that observation of that feeling, is that love? No. Because that is centered on the individual, the parent. And once again, the third thing is the sliding scale. You could never put your finger on love, as you can never put your finger on the moment. Love exists in the quality of time. So the most love that a child receives is going to come from the quantity of time to receive that love and the quality of that time to receive that love. It's all based upon the receiver. The emotions based upon the projector of that love are irrelevant. They're irrelevant because there are people out there that provide quality time. They provide a quantity along with the quality of time. But they never received the love that makes it appear to the world that what they are doing is love. But children don't need what the world sees. Children have the ability to receive the intention and what's going on and transmute that energy into love, into growth, into evolution. And they will evolve themselves. They will take that energy and translate that quantity and quality of time into love. This is why the idea of love exists on a sliding scale. Because there are people who have never received love on a healthy level their whole lives. And yet they have the ability to project some of the most potent, quality and quantity filled love that you will ever see. And it can be received. But where did it come from? It never went anywhere. What we call love exists inside of you. You can only love up to a degree of what you are loving of yourself. If you don't know yourself, you cannot love yourself. If you don't know your partner, you cannot love your partner. If you do not know your children, you cannot love your children. Knowledge, awareness is a part of love. It's a very big part of that sliding scale. It's a part of the quantity of time. It's a part of the quality of time. Without that knowledge, without that awareness, you have something else. It's not love. This is why it's so important to really nail down this identification, definition, loose definition of what love really is. Individuals and masses as a whole don't want to go into this because it will require a lot of the times people losing a part of themselves. It will affect their relationships. They will have to change. They will see themselves differently because what they thought they were isn't true. Change, having to change, requires a lot of the times that you get worse before you get better. People don't want to do that. They don't want to be seen vulnerable, getting worse, any less than who or what they were before that moment. They don't want to appear to be weak, unloving, different. That's another one, just to be different. People are scared of that. You're inherently different. People are born to be different. This also ties in with this idea of love. People look for partners to love based upon certain ideas that have been installed into their awareness by a criminal system, by a manipulative system, designed to destroy your definitions, designed to only allow you to go so far, completely devoid of loving yourself, because a love of self requires a knowledge of self, and people with a knowledge of self are dangerous. The system doesn't want that. So it pushes artificial, synthetic, cheap, flavorless love, empty love, sex as love, food as love, addiction as love, codependency as love, abuse as love, survival as love, materialism as love. Empty, all of it, on purpose, telling you they have the definitions with their holidays. This is what the holidays are for. This is why they have the Valentine's Day, the Thanksgiving, the Christmas. These are commercial versions. Even your birthday. You only have one birthday. What the hell is a 45-year-old man throwing a birthday party for himself for? What the fuck is this shit? This is nonsense. Valentine's Day has nothing to do with love. Thanksgiving has nothing to do with anything other than covering up a criminal story. Christmas, this shit has nothing to do with what they tell you it is. This is meant to redefine your love of self, to cater to the commercial identity, to build your straw man outside of the corporate world. These are what these holidays are. There's a corporate straw man and there's a personal straw man. These broken, cheap, artificial definitions of love, family, culture, connection, all this, it caters to your personal straw man. There's two straw men. Your corporate straw man that has to interact in their world with money. They put that social security card on you, their birth certificate, lock you into the school, get you into a job, lock you into a mortgage, lock you into college debt, lock you into a car note, lock you into that identity, lock you into the idea of retirement, and then you die. That is a system manipulating your awareness, your consciousness, your focus into a belief system, and that you, that is a part of that belief system, is your corporate straw man. Your personal straw man is locked into this corporate identity of love, this straw man version of culture, which is your Christmas, your Easter, your Thanksgiving. This is your straw man culture. We will not know who we really are, how deep our love can go, how far that scale can go, until we drop the artificial, playing in a straw man world, living in straw man relationships, raising straw man children with straw man love. We have a straw man cosmology, straw man intelligence, straw man relationships with nature, our ancestors, our future generations. It's all nonsense. It's all garbage. It's all synthetic. And like breaking that straw man cosmology, what that does, or what it can do, in connecting you with the sun, in connecting you with the moon, connecting you with the stars, the light bodies, the realm as a whole, regardless of what you think it actually is, as if that matters. You are a part of that experience. You are as a part of this experience as the sun and the moon is. When they tell you a straw man story to convince you otherwise, connected to stories like the planets being dead, empty, worthless, meaningless, projects onto you meaninglessness, worthlessness. Break those codes, break those definitions, break out of the straw man, and like having a new perspective on the realm, on that cosmology, a whole new world opens up.